Welcome back to another episode of the Military Retirement Podcast. And we thought that intro was so nice, we gave it to you twice. You know what it is? It's because I haven't muted my other sites. So I thought it came up twice. Anyhow, Military Retirement Podcast, we are all about the veterans. We're all about helping out veterans and their transition from military to civilian retirement. And John and I have dedicated most of our free time to bringing up topics, bringing up different types of information to help veterans who are in the transition period, who are maybe looking to find somebody to talk to about that, somebody like a mentor, to guide them through the process, through that journey, because it is not easy. And we have both been there and done that. And we have a whole lot of information to provide the veteran community. So thank you for joining us today.
That's right. We've given up our free time, our lives. We've dedicated our lives to this mission.
Almost close.
That's how important it is. That's just how important it is. Yeah. We
take up some time.
It takes up a lot of time. As we were talking about before we went turned on the cameras and went live. Like it's been a crazy little week. It's been a lot of stuff going on. It's been to the point where I actually had to do an exercise in a class this week. I don't know, just as a short little shout out to everybody from UMGC, from Maryland, all my classmates. I was sitting in class and we did a Zoom call for one of the classes. And somebody got on there and they're like, wow, you got a nice setup there. It looks like you run a podcast. And I'm like, I do run a podcast. I was like, wait a minute, what's your podcast? And I told them. And then like this girl in the back of the room, she was like, I've seen you on TikTok. You've been on my TikTok before. I knew you looked familiar. I was like, huh. Crazy.
Man, yeah, freaking look at you, man. Just famous now. People are recognizing you. That's
crazy.
Funny. Yeah.
So shout out to all the Maryland students out there.
Yeah. Heck yeah, shout out. No, it was funny because I was at work and this gentleman comes up and he's like, you look familiar. And this is just this past week. You look familiar. He's like, did you work here before? I'm like, no, I don't work here. He's like, man, I can't put my finger on it. You look familiar. I'm like, I've never seen this guy before in my life. Like I've never have. And it's funny how that works, right? And I'm like, are you looking to retire soon? He's like, I am. That's where. So that's kind of funny. It's not that I love that attention or anything, but it's funny when people are like, I know you from somewhere. You look familiar. Oh, the retirement podcast. Okay, gotcha. Military retirement podcast. I'm like, hey, man, all the better because we're just trying to spread the good word out on all this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good feeling to know that we're reaching the right people because some of those people in my class, like I think that girl is in her late 20s, maybe not very old. She hasn't been in the military very long, so she's catching some of the stuff because it's not all about retirees. It's about transitioning. Right. It's about getting out of the military and going to civilian life. If you catch the episode that we dropped this week with Lisa Benson, it's live now on the channel and on all the other social places. And me and her get into a lot of good discussions. Her husband recently retired, and she did not retire, but she had some interesting stories. And now I don't want to spoil it, but the kind of punchline is she spent 13 years back and forth with the VA trying to get her VA claims put together and taken care of.
Yeah, so. I heard that one on the way to work the other day. Unfortunately, some of these podcasts, some of these episodes I'm not a part of, only because I work during the day and, they kind of conflict with my schedule. But I was able to hear that one on the way to work. I'll tell you, excellent episode, man. It was so good. She really opened up on that one. I appreciate her coming on and sharing her story on the podcast. And of course, John, you did excellent in asking questions and kind of navigating all that. So that was a great episode, man. I only wish that I could be there.
Yeah, I wish sometimes we could schedule it that way, but yeah, you've certainly got work, and who knows what's going to happen in the future when I start doing some work. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why our Sundays are so popular here,
right?
So yeah, man. So I want to get into something really quick, and it's the the mindset of going back to work after having been on vacation. As we discussed before, I was in Costa Rica for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and it was just the greatest time, right? Like free of any kind of stressors, of any kind of um, deadlines or anything like that. And I was just free to just spend time with my family and just focus on that. And then the idea of coming back to work, it kind of hit me like like the day before, as we're on our way to the airport. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to go to work tomorrow. There's gonna be some deadlines, a couple of things that I know that I had to get into. Had to submit for next week, et cetera, et cetera. And my wife told me, hey, look, don't think about that stuff until you actually get there. I'm like, all right, well, I got it. Don't let this bleed into your vacation time. You're still on vacation. Cool, dude. So when I got back, the amount of stressors, the amount of the stressors of the deadlines and all that really, really like came to light like my first day back. And I'm thinking to myself, I was like, these are stressors, a lot of them that we put on ourselves. And it was a little crazy, right? Like they're self-induced. And I got to talk to, several coworkers. I'm like, look, it doesn't need to be like this. Um, just seeing the contrast of how people live elsewhere. And I understand that these are people who work in tourism. Maybe they don't have deadlines like we had or anything, because my job is more of a high visibility type job where I'm supporting senior executives and all that. But I can see why we kind of I guess what's the word, we we age a little quicker than what I saw the people over in Costa Rica, how healthy and how happy they looked. And I'm like, man, I don't see that here at least in my where I work and around my area. So I think it's just the stresses we put on ourselves. So we just have to take some time to get away from all that, because it's not good. It's not good. And I saw the direct reflection of what it was like over there versus what it's like here. And we just need to be cognizant of that.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by a lot of really, really, really older folks. Not like everybody around me is old, but
Yeah,
I happen to notice the older folks walking around whenever I'm out and about, or if I'm in, shopping or whatever I need to do. And there's people here that are like 70, 80, 90, still outside, still walking up the hill, still going to get their groceries, still carrying their groceries back to the house with them. And they've got like a
that's
little
right.
cane and they're all hunched over and they're still pushing and still doing it. And it blows my mind. It amazes me how they continue to push on and on. And I think it's because of the fact, like, let alone the fact that we came from the military background, and that background in and of itself is, loaded with stressors and loaded with all kinds of trigger points along the way. And it's just really, it's good fun, but it's fast paced and
It
it'll
is.
eat you alive if you let it. I remember actually one of the conversations we were having before, and I don't remember if we were doing an interview with somebody else, but I remember you saying it, you mentioning something about the the day before going back to work, like the Sunday before going back to Monday, back to the office in uniform, and you felt like this heavy, heavy anxiety and like heavy feelings
Oh
of,
yeah. Yeah.
just stress come upon you that Sunday evening before going to work, and you were trying to figure out what it was, and it was literally like the anxiety of having to go back in the office on Monday.
Yeah. It was. And I'll tell you, my wife has brought this up to me several times, and especially now. We sat down and we had a conversation, and she had mentioned, um, "Is this vacation going to be different from the last vacations we've taken?" And I asked her, like, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Every other vacation we've taken while you were active duty, your mind has been at work.
Hmm.
Your mind has been on what you have to do, making sure things are getting done. I've never been completely like at ease, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I am at ease. And I was for the most part, right? Except for that like that last day in Costa Rica. But every other vacation I've had, and we travel the world, while I was in uniform. Um, it's always been an uneasy feeling, and I attribute that to, just knowing what's going to come up, just my mind on the mission, never being able to let that go. And, it has kind of bubbled up into like a big anxiety ball over the course of several years. So it's definitely something that I'm working on uh, getting rid of. And now that I'm retired, it's like, okay, it's a little easier to get rid of it because the mission is not, though I have a job to do, the mission is not on me really. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a contractor, right? So the mission is not really on me. I'm there to do what I need to do, and then I'm out of the office by 4 o'clock. No matter what happens. So it's something I'm working on letting go, definitely.
Yeah, I think I still struggle with that same kind of thing in my own personal life a lot, especially like
Mhm.
right now. Like this past week has been kind of busy. I got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of spinning plates in here right now. Not to
Yeah,
mention just trying to keep up with schoolwork, keep up with the channel and the stuff that we need to do for the channel, keep up with media relations, sending emails back and forth, and trying to book people for interviews and trying to set things up and set things up for the future. But um sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I'll be, and I'll let my wife know. I'm like, look, I'm just kind of, I have a lot of things going on in my brain right now, and my brain is trying to process them subconsciously in the background while I'm trying to cook dinner. So if it looks like I
yeah,
got this weird like blank stare on my face, it's not that I'm not paying attention or I'm zoned out. I just have so many things in my brain and it's an overload.
that's
And
right.
I'm trying to slow it down a little bit. I kind of need to get back to like meditation and things like that. I still do a little bit here and there, but it's very limited compared to what it used to be. It used to be like a daily habit, and I did it like 2 or 3 times a day. And it really, really helped me the last 3 or 4 years in the military when I was getting out. I got to a point where I think we were doing PT one morning, and you know how when you're doing PT, organized PT with a group of people, and people like to joke around, and it's early as crap in the morning, and people
Yeah,
maybe haven't had their coffee yet. So they're trying to
hmm,
just motivate themselves to be excited to be there so they can get through this next hour of PT. Uh,
that's right.
and I think what I do is I would go in the morning before everybody got there, like at the beginning, before the formation or whatever, and I would just lay down flat on the ground, whether it was on the hard floor or if there was a mat, and I would lay there and I would do my kind of meditation, breathing exercise every morning, basically. And I was laying there and I was in deep, deep, like controlled breathing, getting into a meditative state. And I remember I heard the footsteps like coming toward me quickly, and then
Hmm.
I and then the next thing I heard was a foot stomped like right next to my head. Right. Somebody was just joking around with me because they thought I was asleep or whatever, but the
Right.
foot like literally landed right next to my head. And I
Oh
remember
man.
I was so deep in meditation, I just didn't let it phase me at all. Like it totally didn't, I didn't jump or twitch or anything. And then a
Right.
few minutes later I got up and the guy came over. He's like, "Hey man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like disturb you." I was like, "That's the whole point. You didn't disturb me." So you don't have
Mm.
to apologize. It's cool. Don't worry about it. I know what your intention was, and you were just joking around and you were trying to have some fun with me. But yeah, I used to be really heavy into meditation like that.
I've tried the whole meditation bit, and I can't really get into it too much. I guess I let outside factors bother me too much, so I can't really
Mhm.
do that, and it's hard for me to just have a blank mind for long periods of times. What I do though is go outside and just stand on the grass. I find that for some reason helps me out. Like grounding, I did a whole research thing on grounding, right? And how like the earth has this energy that it gives off. And at first I was like, what is this hippie stuff that I'm listening to? Just but it makes sense, right? It was like it alleviates like the bloating and all that stuff, and it makes you feel better, and I don't know, stepping on something that's alive, right? Like green grass. So, and I do recall when I deployed years ago to Iraq. um, it was, Iraq is all sand, right? It's sand, HESCO barriers on base. It's just there's nothing really green out there. You might see the occasional palm tree or something like that was planted there at some point. Uh, But one of the senior guys, I mean, I was like maybe an E4, E3 when I had deployed out there. One of the senior guys, and when we transitioned from the tents to these, they were like cans, like little trailers. They had like little AC units in there.
What are they called? Chews, right?
No, we just call them cans. I don't know. It might be Jews. I don't know.
It's a technical term. Cans.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. The scientific term. But no, we moved in there, and then you had a little step down, and like it looked like a little place on the side. It looked like somewhere you could put a planter or something like that, but nobody ever put anything there, right? Somebody ordered grass from the U.S., right, or wherever they ordered it from, and they ordered. It was like, you know, that grass that you can buy from the store. It's already like green. It's like this big, you know. So they planted all this grass there, and they would just stand there in the mornings on that green grass. And I noticed, I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? I didn't click. I'm like, what's this guy doing? Just standing there on grass, just kind of like eyes closed. But it was that little feeling of I'm home. You know, I'm back home. I'm bringing myself back to center before I start anything, and open my eyes and see that I'm in this desert, you know, this desert deployed area. But then I get it now. Step on grass every morning for like a month, and you'll see a difference some way, somehow, in your mental state, in your physical state. It's crazy how it works. I can't explain it. There's a whole book on it. There's a whole movement on it. I can't explain it. Just try it out. I promise you.
Yeah, there's a guy. I don't know what he would be called. He's a guy, and he teaches like meditation and stuff like that, and that's part of his whole religious / personal beliefs. Thich Nhat Hanh. He's also kind of like a philosopher of sorts, and he talks about a thing called the walking meditation, and it's essentially something like that, just moving. And I know you do a lot of walking as well. You do a lot of hiking and stuff like that. Same kind of thing. Like meditate. I think that's the thing is meditation. People think about it and they're like, oh, you have to sit on a cushion, you have to hold your hands a certain way, and your legs have to be crossed a certain way, and you have to chant and say this thing, or you know, like empty your mind and watch the cloud float across the sky in your mind. Like that's one way of doing it, but that's like saying like you can only ride a bike with 2 feet on the pedals and 2 hands on the handlebars, and we all know that that's not true. You can take your hands off the handlebars and ride the bike as well if you got enough balance, right? And that's really what meditation is all about. It's about balance. So there's multiple ways to do it, and it's not just one kind of thing. Like I always lay down when I meditate, and most people sit up and they're like, oh, you're not supposed to do that, that's against the rules. I'm like, what rules? Who wrote the rules? Who made these rules?
Some yogi out there.
Yeah. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful the sword that you want to die on when you're diving down into these things and getting wrapped up in the what is it called, the dogma of whatever you're doing. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's really just taking a break, finding balance with yourself and with the world around you. So there's nothing really so woo-woo about it. Really, it's just a matter of just taking a break and taking some time and like clearing your thoughts a little bit and finding peace throughout the day when there's chaos all around you all the time. So
yeah. And I found that when I was doing the whole transition, was writing was kind of like my escape, right? Whether it be if I didn't bring my notebook with me to work, or I forgot to write one day, you know, I'll write my little passage or whatever on, you know, Google Docs. And I just kind of getting everything out there. And I read somewhere that you shouldn't delete, you shouldn't erase, you shouldn't mark things out, because whatever you put down is the real you. So that's exactly, there's so many mistakes on my documents. There's so many little blue squiggles or whatever, red squiggles under there. I've not deleted that stuff. Maybe one day I will, but for the meantime, I just kept on writing, because that is whatever came out, and that was the real me. So I just kept that stuff there. But yeah, I found that was a release for me, just getting stuff out there. Some of the things I'm afraid of, like writing down, because I'm like, I don't really want anybody to know this stuff. But, you know, just if you want to, it's all up to you. You know, write it down if you want. Don't write it down if you want. Maybe elaborate a little bit around that, whatever it is. But just understand, like, put it somewhere, put your stuff somewhere where nobody else is going to find it. It's just you, between you and your notebook, you and your Google document, unless there's like a freaking Google leak or something like that and everybody finds out.
Unless they release another Microsoft update and kill half of the planet.
Yeah. And then they decide to read your journal on NBC News or something. And you'll never believe what Victor wrote.
Yeah, Lisa actually mentioned that when we in the interview that we did. She was like, I do journaling all the time. I write until my notebook is full, and then I take my notebook and I throw it in the fire pit and I light it on fire and burn it. Very cathartic, kind of get all the stuff out of your head and then just completely get rid of it. That's an interesting way to take it.
Yeah, I've heard about that. I can't bring myself to do that. So I'm hoarding these logbooks, these green logbooks and stuff up here on my shelves. But yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I can't bring myself to do that. Only because a lot of the things that I write are things that I'd like to pass on to my kids when they get older, and my grandkids and things like that. To let them know a little bit of insight on who I was and what I was about, my thoughts, my feelings, my ideas, my, everything, what my life was like. So I'd like to bring them into that world. So I can't bring myself to throwing things in the fire pit. It's hard for that. I have heard of that though. And I mean, I appreciate that Lisa does that, because it's her way of dealing with her thoughts. She maybe doesn't want anybody else to read that stuff in the future. It's her own personal journey, right? So I completely get it.
Yeah. Well, plus you got let's see, thousands of hours of transcripts here as well to pass on to the kids and the grandkids. So
that's right. Not only on there's thousands of hours on the Military Retirement Podcast. There's thousands of writings on the Military Retirement Group. And there's also the Green Logbook, my own personal YouTube channel, a journal after military life. So everybody out there who's listening, that's a great transition here. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on the Military Retirement Podcast. So if you can help us out by hitting that subscribe button and just listening to us ramble on about retirement life every week, because we just love doing it, right? We love passing on good information. It would help us out immensely, because once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we are on the way to getting tickets and getting everything situated to go to the Military Influencers Conference where it's at Atlanta, right? Atlanta, Georgia, in end of September. So that is our goal. That is our mission. If you can help us out, it doesn't cost you any money. Just hit that subscribe button, and yeah, we are at the mark of the beast there, the 666 current subscribers. So help us get to 667, please. I'm not a religious man, but
we just need one subscriber today. That's it.
Yeah.
just one
yeah,
subscriber.
just one. Come on. I don't, it's, yeah, I'm not overly religious, but something about that number,
I thought it was cute when I saw it.
Yeah.
I was like, awesome.
No. Oh man. So, hey John, man, I recently got this question while I was at work. Mm-hmm. It was somebody who was hitting their 10-year mark, and this person knows that I'm, I do the podcast. It's kind of like floating around at work somewhere out there. I'm like, hey, this guy does this military retirement podcast. If you have any questions, maybe talk to him. And there was somebody who was about to hit their 10-year mark. Mm-hmm. And excuse me. And I know that that's like a big deciding factor, right? Like, I'm going to hit my 10-year mark. I'm mid-career. If you look at the 20-year journey, right? I'm mid-career. Should I continue on past my 10 years and go the full 20? Or is it worth getting out and just being a civilian and go and find a civilian job and going to college or whatever it is? So I understand that, because that's something that that's somewhere where I was at one point. I was in Japan when I hit my 10-year mark, and I wondered, man, do I want to continue on? Should I get out? Should I just use my GI Bill, get that BAH for a certain amount of time and go find another job? Or it was all because of, the lifestyle. Do I want to keep taking orders from somebody? Do I want to continue on wearing this uniform? Do I want to continue on doing formations at 07 or whatever it is, 05 PTs. So I sat down with the guy and I'm like, look, there's a lot of things you need to think about, and it's all based on your goals and your ambitions. Okay. Do you want to continue on? I mean, what is in his heart? And he said he wants to, but he doesn't know if it'll be better for his life if he gets out. All right. A lot of things to think about here. I told him, if he gets out, what is his plan? Is he planning to continue working for somebody else or start his own job or start his own company? He says he's probably going to go to college and then start working for some IT company. Got it. So either way, he's going to be working for somebody else. And the civilian workforce is a lot different than the military workforce, which means I don't know how it works in all the other services, but if you get, like in the Marine Corps, if you got fired from a job, you don't actually get fired. You just get moved to like one of the ETH shops, like the admin shops or something like that. Hey, go help out at the headquarters and whatever, we'll still keep paying you. It doesn't mean that you're going to get kicked out of the military or anything like that. You still get a paycheck. In civilian life, you get fired. You get fired. Like there's no subsequent paychecks unless you submit for unemployability. Or unemployment. So I told him, hey, there's a lot of things you need to think about here. You won't get BAH anymore. You won't get medical and dental anymore. There's a lot of perks with being active duty. So I kind of opened up his eyes to it. On top of that, I gave him a little story about my buddies who I texted a while back. So when I was submitting my retirement papers, I sent out a text to a few of my friends. They're now civilians. And I told them, hey, look, just kind of getting their availability to see if they can come to my retirement ceremony. And I'm like, yeah, it's I'm hitting 20 years. I want to see if you can come to my retirement ceremony on this date. It's going to be at this place. And a lot of them were like, damn, 20 years, man, that went by quick. And then they mentioned, I wish I would have stayed in for 20 years. Looking back now, I wish I would have stayed in for 20 years because it went by so quick. And I wish I didn't get out at 4 or 8 years. And that's kind of a kick in the ass. And I told this guy, I'm like, look, in 10 years, you're going to look back and be like, man, I should have stayed in for another 10 years because then I'd be getting paid for life. You'll get a pension for life. That's something that I had to make clear to him. It's going to help you out, especially as inflation's happening and especially as things are getting more expensive. You're going to kick yourself in the ass if you don't just stick it out for another 10 years. And it doesn't need to be hard. You just need to learn how to navigate this stuff. It wasn't that difficult for me in my Marine Corps career because I knew how to kind of play the game. I knew how to navigate it, right? I knew how to, delegate things. I knew how to get things done. I found out real quick. So I told him, hey, look, you just need to know how to navigate these things and it'll all turn out well. So in my decision, in my experience, I told him, hey, look, I would stick it out if I were you for another 10 years. You're at the mid-year or the mid-career mark. Just stick it out, dude. You'll be all right. Don't kick yourself in the ass 10 years from now. Your future you will thank you.
Yeah, I think it's really it's definitely an individual choice. I mean, you have to sit down and make that choice for yourself. I would say if you're contemplating it that much that you're trying to decide and it's taking you days and weeks to figure it out and you're on the fence about the decision, the best thing that I could say is like if you think in 10 years or 20 years or 50 years that you're going to regret not taking the chance on the decision that you were thinking about doing anyway, then you should just do it. Even if it turns out to be a failure, even if it turns out to be something that just didn't work out, like at least you don't have to live with the regret later on in life, that the what ifs of
right.
Should I have stayed? Should I have stuck around? I've heard tons and tons and tons. Like I grew up with a bunch of, when I was doing contracting in Europe a few years back, and I was in between coming off active duty. I was in the reserves and then I was doing contracting. And I don't know how many people I ran into. At that point, I was still at the midpoint in my career. Before I could, and I wasn't even thinking about active duty retirement at that point because I was in the reserves. I was like, if I get to retirement, I still got to wait till I'm 60 anyway, so who cares?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so many people, and then some of those same people, the ones that are still alive, some of those same people hit me up since then on LinkedIn, on Facebook, sent me a text message or whatever, and said, I'm really proud that you stuck around and made that decision to do that for yourself, for your family,
Right.
for your future. You've made a really good decision, and I'm really proud of you for that. And I appreciate every single one of those people who reached out to me and let me know that. The same ones that were talking to me, and at that time I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna hit 20 or whatever. Like, I don't even really care.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of them had the same kind of thing to say. They're like, man, I wish I just would have stayed that extra 10 years or that extra 5 years or whatever.
Yeah. It's a tough decision, but again, I had that same decision at my 10-year mark, and I didn't contemplate it too much because I knew that was going to be what's best for my family. I had
Right.
kids at that time. I didn't want to lose out on my benefits. And I have family who retired from the military anyway. So I consulted with them, and they're like, yeah, dude, why are you even thinking about this? Stick it out for the 20 plus if you want to. And trust me, you're going to wish you did if you didn't, so, and I'm glad I did. Because it's just, you get your VA compensation afterwards too, on top of whatever your military retirement is. And it just helps out so much. Like the worries that people have about like finances and stuff, just kind of, I don't have those same worries really. Right.
Yeah.
Like I know that my mortgage is paid for and all my bills are paid for because what I bring in, my pension stuff covers all that. Everything else I make with my other job is just extra, for savings,
Right.
for investing, for family time. It's just extra. It feels so good right now. And that goes back to like, work in my job. People are always stressed out because like, man, I got to make it happen. I got to work. Whereas you have the retirees that are there, who's retired at work, dude. Who's military retired at work because they're like,
Because they're chill.
They're walking around with their mug. They're just, I'm like, okay, this guy was an old like CW05 walking around with his crusty ass mug, just or like a Navy captain or whatever, who's retired. So it's funny, but it's you are alleviated from all those like stressors and worries for the most part, right? Unless like your lifestyle is just super luxurious and then you require tons of money, but live simply, man, and you'll be all right.
I mean, even that with the lifestyle thing, right? We talk about it a lot, and I know I hear a lot of people talking about it as well. And I even I have a conversation today. Somebody asked a question. I forget which Facebook group it was in because I just don't pay attention anymore. So many of them, and they were asking about where to go, where to live after you get out of the military, and this and that. And I just threw some comments in there, and I was like, look, or why did you choose where you decided to live after you got out of the military? I was like, it's super cheap and I can live off of my pension. And if I happen to have a job or if I happen to have extra money come in, that's fine. But I want to be able to make sure that if the shit hits the fan moment happens and everything just falls apart, that I can still hopefully just live off the pension if I have to, absolutely have to.
Right.
And she was like, where's that at? I haven't heard of this place. And I was like, it's not in the States. And she was like, damn. She's like, it's not in the States. I was like, I don't think anywhere in the States is really that cheap. I mean, I'm sure there's some cheap places to live, but then that comes with a cost as well too.
Depends. Yeah, things have gone up, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, I did want to say about the cost of living though, the kind of luxury lifestyle. One of my really good friends, God rest his soul, Mr. Booker. It's one of the guys I used to work with as a contractor. He was retired military. I'd actually known him when I was still on active duty. I met him through my boss, and we just happened to interact. And then a few years later, we were working side by side in Heidelberg, doing some awesome work. But I remember one day he sat down and he was like, "Man," he's like, "I don't have to have this job." He's like, "It's just the extra money that I get to spend on the booze and the women and the guns and all the cars and the motorcycles and like all that fun stuff that I
All the
want to
nice to
do."
haves.
Yeah, all the nice to haves, because he did that, and then he basically just was working at like the clothing and sales on the base.
Yeah.
Um, I think he was still working there when I was working with him side by side, but he was working there just to keep his ID card and keep his base access and all that stuff. That's kind
Mhm.
of that umbrella that gives you access to gas rations and like all that stuff.
Right.
And then the job that he was doing with me was a rotational job. It was like shift work, so it was like 12-hour shift work or whatever, and then we had like
Mm.
2 or 3 days a week off. So he was like, I basically just, I go and do my little thing at the clothing and sales. I sit there and stock shelves and take inventories and stuff. And then I do this a couple days a week. And then that's pretty much it. And then the rest of it is just screw around time. It's like, it's all about me time. So, and he was living a lavish lifestyle. He was very, very hip gentleman. Uh, and he was very into a lot of the nicer things. But he was still so super, super humble at his core. Super, really great dude, really great mentor, really great friend. Um, Unfortunately, he passed away a little bit too soon. But yeah, shout out to Mr. Booker, Mr. Gregory Booker.
Yeah. No, that's good to know. Like folks can make it happen even after they retire, right? Even after they leave the military. It doesn't need to be super stressful. It doesn't. And just being retired, having that pension, having that extra income coming in, just alleviates so much stressors. It really does. Like I would not be living here where I live if I didn't have that. That's a conversation I had with my wife recently. Like, dude, not dude, but lady, wife. I don't call my wife dude. If I was not retired from the military, we would not be living here in San Diego. There's no way we'd be able to make that happen. But just having that extra income, and she also works, right? She wants to work. She's always wanted to work, So I'm like, all right, cool. While I was active duty, she was making more than I was. She was the breadwinner, right? So I'm like, cool. This is great. I was a CWO3, and she was like, she was making it happen, But she's also a go-getter too. So always constantly, striving to get to that next level, which I appreciate. John, I wanted to talk real quick about some volunteer stuff that I'm going to get into.
Mm-hmm.
See if anybody out there who's potentially in the Southern California area, if they would like to stop by. So I'm doing it through my company, but they reached out and they're like, hey, they're looking for volunteers. And I raised my hand. I'm like, look, I'd be honored to volunteer. This is awesome. I've been looking for something like this for a while. It's with the Veterans Village of San Diego. So they're expecting to help about 800 homeless folks, a lot of them being veterans, and providing clothing, food, and other services like there's like haircuts, there's barber shops that show up. There's what else? There's medical staff on site. It's just like um, a whole community coming together to help out like the homeless, right? And a lot, like I said, a lot of them being homeless veterans, and that's what it's geared towards. So yeah, there you go. Thank you for bringing that up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
The Veterans Village of San Diego. I don't know too much about them, but I'm happy to just get in there and get my hands dirty and help out as much as I can. So my company has a tent, and they're going to be giving out, just a couple little towels and things like that, talking about the company to other folks who are interested, maybe need a job or something. But I threw my hat in there to help out with either the food tent or the clothing tent, and it's just a bunch of people who have donated clothing and just giving it out to homeless people. We just have to like organize it by sizes and stuff like that, and help people navigate all that so it doesn't turn into a whole trash bin where everybody's moving it around all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something I've been looking to volunteer my time at some point in time with veterans. And like the homeless veteran situation is, unfortunately, it's very big here in Southern California due to like the high cost of living, due to just if you just drive downtown I mean, they're cleaning it up now a little bit, but there's just tens upon tens. And a lot of these folks are like, they got their little veterans hats and stuff. And I'm like, man, it breaks my damn heart just seeing that. So I'm happy that at least I can jump on this train and help them out in some way, shape, or form. So shout out to Veterans Village of San Diego. And if you're in the area, please come by and show your support. It's going to be on, I think it's the 9th it's not next week, the following week. On the weekend, I'll be there on Saturday.
Yeah, I was just looking at these programs, and it's like what we were talking about the last couple of weeks, actually, homeless court, and then the mental health services. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
There's a lot of need for that, man. I mean, I don't know. The situation is getting bad, and I mean, the increased cost of living, all over the U.S., man. It's getting people. People are losing their jobs, their homes. It's unfortunate, but I feel like I have the means, and I'm in a position where I can lend a helping hand. And why not do that? And if you have the means, if you have the means to support, I'd suggest looking into your local community and volunteering as well. It's all about helping out the next veteran, helping out the next person. It's not all about me. It's not all about me all the time. I love going on vacations. I love spending time with the family, but I got to give back somehow.
Yeah, and it's also a good way to keep yourself from getting bored. I know that's kind of like a term that gets thrown around a lot in our circles. At least I've seen tons, and I hear people say it all the time as well. It's like once you get out of the military, or once you're getting close to retirement or getting ready to get out of the military and transition out to civilian life, make sure you have something set up so that you don't get bored with life once you're out, right? Volunteering is one of those ways. I mean, you can definitely go straight into a job if you got one lined up. If you've got some kind of contract lined up, if you got a GS position lined up, that's all fine and dandy. And if that's what you want to do, more power to you. But volunteering is also a great way, especially if you're in a community that's military friendly or military heavy, or you're near a military base, is another great way to get back to not only the local community, but also the military community that's in the area. And then just regular volunteering at regular different places, food shelters and things like that. There's always a need for somebody to help out and pitch in and give a hand. So, and you can also find ways to set yourself up for another career too, as well. Like if you potentially start doing some volunteer work with them and then ease your way into the psychology stuff on that side of the house, you never know where that can lead you to. So you can also you can open doors that way through volunteering as well.
Yeah, I fully intend to talk to the leadership out there when I attend this event, and talk to them, about the podcast, and seeing how we can help possibly get them on the podcast, talk a little bit about, Veterans Village of San Diego, because I know they probably have connections with tons of other organizations across California, across the U.S. on, helping out homeless veterans and things like that. So, yeah, shout out to them. I look forward to helping out however I can. And this is not going to be the first one. It's going to be, one of many in the future. So make sure that it's on my schedule continuously.
Yeah, it's really good, man. It's really good. And the fact that you can help out veterans and you can help out in the local community, and it's a circle of giving back. Like you're giving up your time, you're giving up your resources, whatever that happens to be, whether it's time or some skill you can bring to the table, and then it all comes back full circle. Like it really does. At least in my experience, it has. It's always good for a good. That's what.
Yeah, definitely. It makes you feel good too, like to know that you're helping out a fellow veteran. So that's right. Yeah, and it's cool to see. Like, if you ever seen like one of these homeless veterans, or anybody homeless, they got the long hair and all that stuff, the long beard, and if you ever see them get like a haircut. I've seen those things where they sit them down and get haircuts, and it's like they're like a whole new person. Give them a proper meal, let them have a proper shower, and give them some new clothes. You're setting them up for success. There's a possibility of them sitting down and actually sitting down for a job interview, or they don't have that. What's the word I'm looking for? They're not afraid to walk in somewhere and ask for a job interview because they're not looking like disheveled, right? They're not dirty. They have some confidence to walk in there and actually look for a job. So that is good. That's good. So I fully look forward to that because I know the barber is going to be on site too. So just seeing that transformation is incredible.
Yeah, we got to take care of our veterans, all of our veterans, the ones that are doing good and the ones that are not doing so great. And that's why we also tend to bring up things like that about the homeless, the legal assistance for people who are potentially going to be in that predicament in life. And then through direct outreach is also amazing. I'd love to have him on the show. I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it happen, man. I'm gonna do my best to get to that leadership and let them know all about it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else we got going on here.
I got one thing, and I'm sure if this is for the Army folks out there, so to all my Army brothers and sisters, since that's where I hail from. But I was poking around looking for some stuff and came across the Soldier for Life, which used to be Soldier for Life TAP or SFL TAP, and then it split off, and now it's just Soldier for Life, and then the Transition Assistance Program, which is TAP. But Soldier for Life is basically kind of this initiative from the Army to keep continuity with U.S. Army service members after they transition out of the military, whether they retire or they just get out after a few years. It's kind of like a way to keep a continuity with them so that they understand what resources are available. If they need any assistance with anything, they've got a lot of resources for that. As you see, it says this is not TAP, and this is one of the things that I kind of screwed up. I did an interview with the gentleman who's the former director of the Soldier for Life program. He just retired not too long ago. His interview should be coming out in the following few weeks, but I think he's actually next on the list. But yeah, I get to sit down with him and talk with him, and that just got me kind of thinking. I started digging back through the SFL Soldier for Life kind of resources and webpage, and they got a bunch of documents on here, and I was curious to maybe go through. They have a bunch of retiree stuff here, links that you can go to, and we can probably link this up on the page, but this one in particular, and as we were talking about getting ready, prepared for retiring, I think this kind of, it's geared toward the Army, but I think it kind of also touches a lot of other folks out there in the other services, because you have a very similar glide path on your transition, on your preparation for retirement. And just curious to see if there's anything on here that like stands out that looks crazy, or anything you want to touch on. Let's hit the 36 months all the way down to the 18 months, and maybe dip into the 12 months. I think we could do that. This is like a trifold, so it's kind of written weird.
It's a lot going on.
yeah, it's a lot of words. But yeah,
36 months. I'm just reading through it right now myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This one right here is pretty good. Like exactly the question that people ask: where do you want to live?
That's a big one. It's a big one.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most asked questions.
Yeah, because I mean, where are you happy with living near where you're retiring from, or would you rather go back to your home of record? And you have that one final PCS move, so you got to make it count, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Do you need
and
to move your household
just
goods?
So you know, if you don't forget, you have to actually, well, at least in the Army, we have to let them know like every year that we want to extend our PCS, our final PCS move out for a year if you
Oh
don't
yeah,
use it immediately
that's
after.
right. Yeah, you do have to let them know. I think in talking to one of the transportation office folks, they did mention it's up to 5 years.
Mhm.
You can extend that up to 5 years. So I don't know. Your mileage may vary depending on your service, but I think it's all DMO.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so I'd say talk to them, but I do understand that you have to let them know every year that you wish to extend that, or else I don't know if it cancels out or what. But I used mine immediately after, right, within a year,
Mhm.
because I knew that I was going to stay here in the area from where I retired from. We bought a house, moved all my stuff. I was considering that next line over, like, do I need to move my household goods? I was considering doing a Diddy move, the do-it-yourself move.
Yep.
Um, I asked my wife, I'm like, hey, if I rent a U-Haul, are you cool with just packing stuff up? She's like, hell no, I don't want to do any of that stuff. After it, you know what I mean? Like after you've done so many PCS moves in your career, you know how much crap you accumulated. You know how much stuff it takes. You know how much time and effort it takes. If you're living in like an apartment or something like that, it's not that bad. We had like a 4-bedroom house. I'm like, yeah, I understand what you mean. We'll just have the movers come and do all that stuff for us. We only moved like, I don't know, 5 miles down the road or something.
Right.
But it was like, still, I appreciate having that last move because that was just cleaning up afterwards. I was like, damn, do I hire like the Merry Maids or something like that to come out here and clean up my stuff? Do I want to pay for that? No. So I ended up cleaning my wife and I, my kids, and we ended up cleaning the whole place ourselves after the movers left, which is fine. You know, we had to repaint the walls and stuff too. So a lot of things. Like I painted my kids' walls while we were living there, and had to repaint it back to white and stuff. So, yeah, there's a lot that goes into a move, but it's nice to have that option of a Diddy move or, um, the last household move.
Yeah, I mean, they give you, what is it, 18,000 pounds, if I'm not mistaken, and it potentially could be more depending on dependents and also like what is it, the professional development stuff, like your
Yeah, you
Foot
books
Locker
and
full of
computers.
books, right?
Yep.
So it could be probably in the 20 grand range of poundage that you can actually move. And I think what we do is, like any human being in that situation, we say, "Oh, we have a lot of space. Let's go ahead and fill the space." And next thing
Hmm.
you know, you're actually shipping, 18,000 pounds worth of stuff, even if it's 5 miles away. So,
Yeah. We came under, thankfully. I think it
mm,
was like 18,000 pounds, and I think we only had like 12 or 13,000. Not a lot because we had sold a lot of the stuff that we didn't need or we had gotten rid of it. Most of our stuff, like our couches and stuff, I gave it away. I had like a sectional couch. Um, I send out a text to a buddy of mine who runs my old office, and he's the OIC of that office now. So I'm like, hey, look, do you have any Marines who might want the sectional couch or who might want this or that? I give away like a TV, a couch, and a bunch of stuff that I didn't want to take with me because I wanted new stuff, right? That
yep.
we've had that couch for so long, dude. It was like my kids have done flips on it since they were in diapers. And I'm like, yeah, now the kid's 13. I'm like, no, we don't need this couch anymore. Let's give it away. So yeah, but it was nice to pass it on to folks who might need it, right? So just a ton of stuff like chairs, dining table, things like that we wanted to get rid of. But yeah, we alleviated ourselves from all that stuff, and our stuff came in way under the pound mark. So we even moved some old was it washer and dryers with us to our new place, hoping that it would fit. And of course, those were electric. My new house was gas. So I'm like, okay, well, I can't really use these now. So I had to give those things away too. But yeah.
Yeah, and also
What
if you
else?
do a Diddy move, you can also, if you want, you can also contract the stuff yourself.
Yeah,
If you
that's
want
right.
to try to set it up and get a contractor and get a discount or like whatever, however it works out.
Yeah, you can
Tons of ways.
negotiate your own price.
Yeah, tons of ways.
Yeah. Let me see what else we got here. This is a really good timeline, man. It kind of gives you everything you need to do.
Hmm.
And let me see, deciding your retirement date, prepare your request for retirement. So seek medical and dental. Okay. Incorporating documents, medical, begin researching health. All right. So 18 to 12 months before begin researching healthcare options. That's one that has landed on my plate a couple of times. I recently got one of our old guests on the show had reached out to me and asked, "Hey, look, do I know of any other healthcare options or life insurance options?" Because his kid is now over the age, the TRICARE prime age. I think it's like 23, I think it was, with college. And now they have to search for another option. So my response was look into Benefeds or FedVip. Okay, so Benefeds is another one. Normally it's given out, it's an option for government employees, right? GS employees, federal employees. It allows you to, get vision and dental on top of your TRICARE Prime. They also have other insurances, I believe, but we use it for vision and dental only because my wife is a GS. And it works out for us, right? And I don't think there's a cap on the age. Yeah, there you go, Benefits. I don't think there's a cap on the age because you got to pay for it anyway. They also have the TRICARE Young Adult, which is a little bit more expensive than your TRICARE Prime. Like right now, TRICARE Prime for a family is I think it's like $67 a month, but it doesn't cover dental. It doesn't cover vision. That's extra. It covers like ambulance. It covers like medical care at urgent care facilities, things like that. But yeah, there you go. TRICARE Young Adult, but it's a little bit more expensive. So he mentioned that he didn't want to go that route because of the price, right? Yeah, there you go. At least 21, but not 26 years old yet. So it covers the buffer between 23 and 26, right?
Yeah.
But there's other options. I referred them to Benefeds. I referred them to FedVip for the dental and vision. But yeah, if anybody else out there knows, maybe somebody who works with insurance companies knows, if you have somebody who's over the age of 23 and like a dependent who no longer falls within the regulations of TRICARE Prime, what other routes can we go to provide them health insurance, to provide them life insurance? I only know through through working with Benefits and FedVip, I only know of the Benefits and FedVip. But if there's any other programs out there, I'd be curious to know if anybody can reach out to us and let us know. So yeah, that's a big one. 18 to 12 months, start researching healthcare options, because you're definitely going to lose the medical and the dental once you get out, unless you start paying for that stuff.
That's right.
Begin accumulating a wardrobe for post-retirement employee. All right, I got something to say about this one, man.
I got my wardrobe right here. It's a t-shirt and flip-flops.
I got something to say about this one, man, because I went out and I'm not hitting on these people for anything, because they helped me out. There's a company out there who provides suits for veterans, for lower cost than normal suits. And I found them on LinkedIn. I utilize their services. Cool. I bought like 4 suits thinking, I'm like, I need 4 suits. And they all came with shirts and ties and pocket squares and then they reimburse you for like the tailoring of the waist, and it's like a tailor fit via Zoom, which is a little strange, right? I was like, what the hell is this? How can they tailor it via Zoom? But the guy actually sits there and he has you try it on Zoom, seeing how the shoulder fits, seeing how the waist fits. And he tells you, okay, they send you like an advanced, whatever suit, depending on your sizes that you submit to them online. And then just seeing that is how he'll tailor it. Then he'll send you 3 suits or 4 suits, whatever the package is that you buy. And then they reimburse you for the tailoring of the waist. Cool. Dude, can I tell you, I have never worn one of my suits. Like I take that back. I wore it once to a fundraising event at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego for a gala. I've never worn one of the suits for a job interview.
Right.
I wore a sports jacket, and that was it, because I asked them, hey, do you need me to come in and, how do you want me to come in? They're like, oh, it's very relaxed. Just sports jacket will do, or, whatever, a button down shirt. Cool. So I just wore that. I did not wear one of my suits yet. And I kind of I'm kicking myself in the ass a little bit for spending so much on 4 suits when I didn't really need them. Because I'm like, who the hell do I think I was? Did I think I was going to go into like a high level executive position? That's not really what I wanted ultimately. So what do I wear to work all day? I wear a polo shirt or, a button down shirt, not even a tie.
Right.
So yeah, definitely depending on what you want to do, if you're going to be working like IT and stuff like that, you probably don't need like a suit. If that's your intent is to go work IT, or, maybe if you want to start a podcast, you probably don't need to be wearing a suit. Right. This is, aside from that, this is my work shirt here.
I mean, we can do live suit Sunday if you want to wear your suits, man. I have a couple suits, I think.
Challenge accepted. Challenge accepted, man. It might happen. I might wear a tux, damn it.
We can do it at least one time.
My old blues if I can fit into them.
I don't think I would want to do it every week, but
That's funny. And we tell our guests they have to wear suits on the podcast.
Right. All of them. Yeah. I did, like I said, I did contracting and stuff, and I did some jobs where it was really chill and really relaxed. But even for those jobs, depending on what I was doing, even doing some IT stuff, right? Sometimes, like I did some work with the DoDEA schools, right? All the schools in Europe. Basically went to every single school in Europe and Belgium and Germany and all over the place. And I would wear generally a shirt and a tie. And everybody in my office was like 3 or 4 of us in the office, and we handled pretty much the whole umbrella of Europe. And we would basically go to the schools. We would fix the computers, whether it was a hard drive that was broke or the printer was broke, or like they needed a monitor swapped out or something like that. If we had to fix something, actually fix something. And I started wearing a shirt and tie, and my boss and like all my coworkers were like, "Why are you wearing a shirt and tie? It's dumb. Like you could just wear a polo." I'm like, I feel like it sets a better precedence when I walk in the door and they're not looking at me in like a polo and some cargo pants, and they see somebody in a shirt and tie, and they're like, "Oh, okay, he's here to do something." So, because a lot of these times I would go to these places and it would be like in the middle of Belgium somewhere, in like some side road, some weird NATO high school that's in the like out in the country that you would never know existed, really. Right. So I would just show up these places and they don't know who I am. That helped. It helped out a lot. But yeah, wearing a suit every day, no.
I'll tell you what, man. If I ever decide to leave my job, I've been thinking about getting like a one of those janitors or groundskeeping jobs at a high school. I'm gonna wear a suit. I'm gonna be the first freaking janitor to wear a suit. I'll do it. It's like, man, this guy must be like the principal. Nah,
right.
Hand me that broom, there, guy.
Principal sweeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh insane. Man. Yeah.
So, John, if you could scroll down to what they have on this list for, there you go, 12 to 6 months. Submit your retirement request and leave plan. Okay, 12-month mark. I can see that. Let's see, between a scheduled retirement physical. Okay,
I think you can actually do that sooner now. I think you can actually do that 24 months out. I think they just changed that within the last year.
Your retirement? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Finish buying. There you go. Finish buying. So it takes you several months to buy your wardrobe.
Right. At least 6 months.
Yeah. I guess you got to save up, right? And start active job search. Okay. So I would say this is what, 6 to 9 months before you get out?
This is 12 to 6.
Okay. 12 to 6 months. Okay. So start at your active job search. Okay. That's a good timeline. And I'll say this, when I applied for a job, when I knew that I wanted to retire, like when I knew that I was getting near retirement, it was about 1.5 years, 18 months out. And I applied for a job, and they came back with, "Oh, we need somebody sooner than that." So when I told them, "Hey, I'll be available in 1.5 years," I'm just kind of throwing out my resume out there. "Oh, we were looking for somebody in the next 6 months." I'm like, damn, but it didn't hurt me at all, because I'm like, I got into I got used to putting out my resume out there, how to tweak my resume back and forth. But understand that if you start throwing out your resume too far in advance, jobs, at least the ones that are like direct hires, they want somebody there sooner than later. Now you can apply for some of these like GS positions, but understand that you're going to need a waiver for some of them, so you have to be like 6 months retired already in order to jump into one of those DoD positions. I just became eligible for one of those, for those DoD positions, because I just hit not so long, like maybe a month or two ago, the 6 month mark after retirement. So I became eligible for those without a waiver. But yeah, just understand that you may encounter some issues if you start applying too soon. So maybe this is a good timeline, about a year out, 9 months out, start submitting resumes or applications. You'll get some good feedback on that. Now, is there anything after the 9 month or this one right here?
No, it actually goes,
Or 26.
let's see, 6 to 1 month before, and then retirement month. Yeah, we can go through these.
Okay, retirement month. Let's see, complete your retirement physical. Okay, got it. Focus on job search. Yeah, okay. Conduct house hunting if you're moving. Yeah, all right. I got that. That's if you've already identified where you're going to move. Cool. Right. Yeah. As far as for me, like I identified where I was going to move, like the month that I retired. We were on the fence that month. Like, do we move to Virginia? Do we stay here? Like, where we're going to move? And it wasn't until that month where we're like, F it, let's just stay here. We have jobs here, whatever. We decided to stick around here after I got that job offer while I was in terminal leave. So that did it for us. Let me see. BRS.
This one's actually interesting, the blended retirement. I kind of want to touch on this one real quick, because this is something we haven't actually come across yet, right? I haven't personally ran into anybody who's done the blended retirement system yet. I would love to sit down and talk with somebody who's done it and gone through that process, if they've actually gone through that process. Because that
came out in like 2016, right?
Right. And it was kind of like I think it was like an opt-in. It was kind of like the GI Bill thing when they were like, hey, you can opt in or opt out if you want to keep the regular GI Bill. I think this was kind of the same kind of thing. And I'm not sure when the first like wave of these are coming, or if they've already come or not. I would love to talk to somebody who's done this process or experienced this process. But this one says, if you want a lump sum of your retired pay at the time of your retirement, submit the DA form 2656, no less than 90 days before retirement. If you're not retiring under BRS, submit the form at least 60 days out. DD form, spouse and SBP election is being made. So survivor benefit plans. That's that's interesting, because you can get a lump sum payment, right, with the blended retirement system.
That's right. That's right. And I'm looking that up right now. Like, how does that work? How much do you get? I guess I need to do more research on this. This BRS.
They tie it to your TSP. They tie it to your TSP. I'm just not sure if they do any kind of matching. So on the government civilian side, they do TSP matching, and it's pretty much 1 for 1, right? Or is it? It's something really, really close. Like they give you a whole bunch of money for putting in money into TSP.
Like up to 5% or something that you contribute. They give you that back.
I'm not 100% sure what they do for this, but I know it's tied to the TSP in some way.
Yeah, I found a little fact sheet on here. I might have to throw it up. The blended retirement system lump sum. Let me see if I can share that up here. Share screen. Here we go. Fit in red. Oh, hold on. Wrong one. Here we go. Let's see if I can make it a little bit larger.
Command plus, command plus, command plus.
Is that right? Okay. See. There we go. Maybe that'll help. All right. So blended retirement. Lump sum basics, fully retired upon eligibility, lump sum payment of 25% or 50% of your estimated retired pay. You may receive one lump sum payment or annual equal payments, one a year for up to 4 years. Monthly retired pay reverts to full amount Social Security age, for which most is 67. So it doesn't actually give you like a dollar amount. I mean, I guess it can't, right? Because there's a difference depending on rank and all that.
Right.
Okay, regular retirement, no lump sum. Is that showing up on the screen? Yeah, it is.
Yep.
Okay, and then non-regular retirement. Yeah, again, I'm not going to do this live on here and try to figure all of this out, but
Math.
But yeah, it's like doing math in public, right? Like no. But yeah, you either get 25% or 50% of your estimated retirement pay. Okay, well, for 5 years, it looks like one a year for up to 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the trade-off by taking either 25% or 50% in a lump sum, your monthly retired paycheck is reduced 75 or 50% of the full value of your monthly retired pay until you reach Social Security age. Oh, okay. Wow. So if you take a lump sum, you get less. It sounds like. I don't know if I do that then.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I'd be really, really interested to bump into somebody who's doing the blended retirement. That would be really,
I'm gonna write
really
that
cool.
down, man, because I mean, I understand like it's a whole cost saving thing, right? Yeah. It costs the government a whole lot of money to give retirement pay, especially 50% of what you were making. Can you imagine how many veterans, how many retired, hundreds of thousands of retired veterans out there who are getting 50% of their pay? And now this is like a way for the government to kind of offset that a little bit. Like, hey, we'll offer you this lump sum payment, but it's going to be a little lower, but you get a whole bunch up front, right? So does it really benefit you? Also, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So taking that lump sum might be worth it. I mean, if you're having like medical issues and stuff like that, and, you know, things are about to happen, that might be something you look into. But also you might have life insurance, and you might have that, what's that life insurance for
survivor
retirees?
Benefit.
Yeah, survivor benefit. I think you have to opt out of that when you retire, right? Because you're automatically put into that. I opted into that only because it was probably the easiest way, and you could always opt out of it afterwards. But
yep, that's what I did too.
Yeah, I just kept that going, and it's not like a lot off my retirement pay anyway. It's very minimal.
I had so many people tell me not to do the survivor benefit plan. If you out there have an opinion on it, I would love to hear your opinion on it. I've heard so many people tell me, oh, you shouldn't have done that. It's a bad decision. I'm like, I got it. But if something actually does happen to me, like I would like that money to go somewhere. Because without it, I don't think it really goes anywhere. I don't think so.
Yeah.
So the last two bullets on here, schedule.
I'm just reading the fire social workers comment. Did I hear a conversation about money?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to put this guy in timeout. No, I'm not.
No. Or you can bring him up on stage. Either way.
Let's see. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you did hear a conversation about money, and we're talking about survivor benefit plans and BRSs, and how the government will give you a lump sum up front if you do the BRS, but it's actually a little bit lower than what your actual retirement would be. So yeah, fire social worker on the line. All right, what else we got on here, John?
Change your email address in any account that contains your DoD email address, especially your MyPay, DFAS accounts.
Yes.
And if you have it attached to your iTunes / Apple account, you should probably take it out there too. I still have mine tied to mine. Don't know how to get rid of it. No idea.
Oh man. So yeah, this is a big one that I see a lot. Like, hey, how do I get my stuff changed after I get out? Do I need to go to Deers? Like, how do I do this? Yeah, change it beforehand. I made sure I changed mine beforehand. I didn't have it tied to my iTunes and Spotify and all that stuff. But it also worked out for me at the end, because now, you know, I work with the Navy now. So I still have a CAC, and I can go in there and I can still log into like va.gov using my CAC, and I still have all the same information. I can still do like everything else that I was able to do while I was active duty with my CAC, right? A lot of people don't have that option. So make sure that you do change all your stuff out of your DoD ID or your DoD email address to whatever it is, your personal email address. That's a big one, because then you're never going to be able to gain access to that stuff. It's always going to go straight to your DoD address, which after a while no longer exists.
Well, it's supposed to not exist. I think mine actually might still be in the system, but yeah, my pay for sure. You definitely want to change that over before you get out, because that's the way you get your leave statements or your earning statements or whatever.
Absolutely.
Your
And
ERAS
TSP.
statements and TSP.
TSP.gov
is another one.
Yeah.
And for those who get out and don't have a CAC anymore, like if you get out and you don't go directly into a government job that gives you access to a CAC, and you want to do that move that we were just talking about before, maybe you want to do it a year later or 2 years later and you don't actually have a CAC. One thing to keep in mind is before you get ready to start setting that up, because they've changed the system a little bit now. It used to be move.mil, and now you just basically go to Military One Source, you look up transition PCS move or whatever, and then it'll take you to another site. It's a DSP or DPS site, and the only way you can get in there is with a CAC, or you can call the transition office wherever you want to ship your stuff from and have them set you up an account with your civilian email, and then that'll give you access so that you can then go in and start scheduling your move if you happen to do it, a year or two later, or outside of the window of you actually having a CAC in your hand still, just to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I'm writing a message here to fire social worker. If he has any knowledge on SBP or BRS, be happy to bring him on the stage and elaborate a little bit, because I'm always down to learn something new. So I'm always down to surround myself with folks who know more than me. If I'm the smartest one in the room, I'm doing something wrong.
So you're in the wrong room.
That's it. I want to be the dumb one in the room. I want to be sucking on my thumb in the room in a corner.
That's right.
It's like, what can I learn?
Chewing on crayons.
Chewing on crayons. Crayola only. Crayola. None of that rose art. They don't taste as good. Let me see. Yeah, this is another good one. Pick up medical and dental records for you and your family members, if applicable. I was recently on a Facebook group, and folks were asking, hey, look, I retired. I never picked up my medical records, and I have to go through my stuff, my CMP exams. Like, what do I do? How do I request my medical records? They're probably still sitting at that base, right? Yep. Unless they do like some kind of a purge, and then they get rid of all that stuff. That's a big one. Make sure you get all your medical and dental records. Make sure that you upload those things, you scan those things. What I did was I obtained them. My medical facility was right across the street from my job, so I go in and grab that stuff. I utilized the scanner, that big Xerox scanner that we have in the admin office, and I just scanned everything in there, and just had it sent to my email. At that point, I just put it onto or send it over to my personal email. So I had everything kind of set up so where, just in case my actual paper documents get lost, I got something backed up. I put them on my thumb drive. I put them on a little hard drive, and I have them saved to my cloud. Now, the ones saved to the cloud are all redacted, so I was able to go through and just take out all my socials and all that good stuff.
Yep. Yeah, this is the retirement month. So yeah, attend your retirement ceremony. That's if you choose to have one. Definitely show up to it if you're going to plan one. And the wills and power of attorney, we talked about that last week, and we've brought it up many times. Definitely try to get that taken care of through your legal office, through your JAG office, if you have one available to you before you get out. It's always good to get that kind of thing set up, as long as it's it's a basic will and power of attorney is pretty standard. If you need to go beyond that, I think you'd mentioned if you need to set up some kind of trust or something like that, you might have to reach out to an attorney outside the walls of the gate.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. SPP, we talked about that. Yeah, we talked about FedVip, dental, vision care. That's a big one. Let me see. Turning your CAC, obtain your retired ID card. So a little thing about the retired ID card. After you retire, after you actually hit your end of active service date, it does take a little while to actually activate and show that you are retired in the system. So before you make the drive out there to the ID card center, just make sure you give them a call, let them know, hey, look, can you look me up in the system and just make sure that I'm showing up as retired? Because if you are showing up still as active duty, they will not issue you a retired ID card. That happened to me. I took off work and I made the drive to the ID card center to get my retired ID card. I was all excited about it. I was gonna make like a video about it and all that stuff. And I show up, and they're like, "Yeah, sir, sorry, you're still showing up as active duty." I'm like, "Dude, I have a full beard now. You can tell I'm not active duty. Can I just get a retired ID card?" And they're like, "Sorry, sir, it's in the system. We can't change it. We have to wait for whatever DFAS or whoever to change it for us." Got it. So rather than making the full trip, call ahead of time.
You can also check that stuff on Deers, right? Or on what is it called? It's on Deers.
Yeah, there's a DoD ID website. I can't recall the name of it. I was recently on there so I can get my kids their ID cards. I forgot the name of the ID card. If you just Google, DoD ID card registration, you should be able to find it. Google is your best friend. Days TRICARE Health, choose to initiate in 120 days. Okay. So I'll tell you this, for those who are still undergoing like therapy appointments and stuff like that, and you still have not gotten, maybe TRICARE Prime is still in the works, or maybe you are not retiring, but just separating. Military One Source is a big help. You are still covered for like therapy appointments, things like that, for 365 days up to 1 year after you EAS. So if you have any kind of issues, Military One Source is there to help you out for up to a year after you EAS. Just give them a call, go on to their website, their help. And I know I don't know if they still do it, but they were doing referrals out to therapy appointments. So I know a lot of folks going to utilize those things. So definitely contact them. You have those resources available.
Yep.
See what else we got here. Join a veteran and military service organization. Okay. So that's a nice to have. It's not a must. It's a nice to have.
These are all after the fact, after retirement.
Okay.
Basically. All these.
Yeah, these are all nice to haves. I've gone to a couple, like the Veterans Beer Club and stuff like that. Those are pretty cool. Good group of folks. I've shown up to some and seen like people that I worked with there. Got to talking to some. You don't have to do it. It's not for everybody. Some folks want to retire and get away from all that stuff. Some folks miss the camaraderie and the like-mindedness of being around military veterans or military folks in general. So they may want to go to those. I have friends who retired and they're like completely off the map. They're like, they won't even answer text messages. I don't even know if I can call them friends anymore, dude. Like they just, they were friends while in uniform. They wanted to get away from the military life completely. So they just kind of did their own thing. Maybe they changed their number. I don't know. And didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
But, no. Yeah. There's folks out there like that. That's fine.
The weird beards.
You may choose to move near a military installation. You may choose to move completely away from one. That's again your choice, but weigh the options. All your stuff is easily accessible by military hospitals, that whole military network. I, for one, chose to stay in my area here in San Diego. So I'm around many, many military installations. There's Navy installations, Marine Corps installations all over the place. So I just like having that ease of accessibility. I mean, the VA facility is right down the road from me. So I love having that ease of accessibility, and I love being around the military community anyway. So some folks may not like that and they want to move somewhere completely out of the area. That's fine too, but just understand that it might be a little tougher for you to get maybe things going when you need VA facility stuff or blood work or something, whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's definitely a choice you got to make, and you got to try to figure it out. And again, it just boils down to your personal preferences and what you want to have access to. The VA facilities, you don't necessarily have to be next to a base to be next to a VA facility. They're usually in the larger communities, larger cities. Either way.
Yeah, and again, I have nothing but great things to say about the VA via my experiences. I've gone to do 2 different VA facilities here in San Diego, and they've been nothing but great, super helpful. Everybody is on point. The cool thing now is, and I've never done this before, was I went to go see a VA doctor recently, and they actually, like, I was like, hey, it was for medications. I'm like, hey, I need my meds. Where do I go to pick them up? And they're like, actually, we'll mail them to you. I'm like, what? That's awesome. Like, I don't have to sit at a pharmacy. They're like, yeah, you'll have it at your house in like 2 or 3 days. Cool. So I got one shipment just the other day. It was a little, in a little box. I was like, this is perfect. I don't have to go anywhere. They just mail it to me. I don't have to pay anything. So great stuff, man.
Like Amazon Prime Day for your meds.
Dude, yeah. It's like, oh man, I need my stuff, and it just shows up at your door. Now, if somebody was to come and steal my package, I'd be pissed. I'm like, fuck, I need my meds, They're going to open it up thinking they're getting a hard drive. Like, what the hell is this? Freaking Sensodyne. What the hell?
Who the hell takes Prilosec?
What is this cream? Oh, man. Anyhow,
horrible.
No, we're having too much fun here, man. Too much fun.
Horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, just keep in mind what you want to be close to and what you want to be around, and the access that you want to have to stuff. And just for those who haven't done your VA process yet, or you're still waiting, or you're still going through the VA process, or you've maybe just started it, or you've sat on it for 5 years and haven't touched it, and now you're realizing the error of your ways and you want to go back and rectify that and start putting in for your VA claims and stuff like that. If you see in the comments, the Civ Div, he's actually going, I think it's this week, maybe it's next week, but they have these mobile VA kind of clinics that are going to be around, and they're doing these mobile on-site.
That's right.
VA. Yeah, so they're basically, you just show up, bring all your paperwork, of course, bring all your medical records, bring any documentation you have, and also stuff that'll allow you to show them your in-service connectivity if you can, and bring that all to these mobile VA kind of fairs. And they have medical people on the ground, and they also have CMP examiners on the ground, and they also have people who could adjudicate your VA claim right there on the spot. CivDiv's going to be at one, I think, within the next week or so, if he hasn't already done it. But if you want to check that out, check out his site. We're always trying to support him as well, Clay, and see how to get rated for your VA claims in one single day. You may have to drive a little ways to get to some of these places. They don't have them everywhere yet, but they have them in some of the big major cities across the country. And if you are still trying to get your VA claims in, or you're trying to get an increase or something like that, you can literally go to these places and get some of that stuff taken care of in one single day for the cost of the driving and maybe an overnight in a hotel or something.
That's incredible, man. It really is. In one day, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to look into some of those. Not that I need it, but that's almost unheard of, because it's in one day. I mean, I thought mine was fast, and it took 11 days to get mine. In one day is incredible. Yeah, definitely take advantage of that if you haven't done so.
Yeah, I'll be probably hitting the ground again sometime really, really, really soon And as soon as I get there, once I get everything taken care of that I need to get taken care of, I'm going to see if I can go hit up one of these places in the States and see what exactly, because I still have VA claims that I have to put in and get processed and all that stuff. So I'm definitely going to take all my paperwork and definitely going to see if I can get some of that stuff taken care of. And that'll be one less thing on my list of things to do.
Good. And again, I'm going to give a quick plug. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. So once we do hit 1,000 subscribers, we meet our mission and we meet our goal. And we're going to be heading out to MilCon, the Military Influencers Conference, in September, John and I. So John's going to be making the overseas trip to MilCon. And I'll be going right across the country. But that is something we've been talking about for a long time. We're trying to get our numbers increased, get visibility on the channel. And hopefully, maybe, I don't know, if we get enough subscribers, maybe John will get up on the stage at some point. And throw you out there.
Hey, if they let me on the stage, I'll go up on the stage. I don't mind. I'm going to try to get in every single podcast interview, every single selfie I can get in when I'm there. So.
That's it. No, we do it for the veteran community, man. We definitely do this stuff for our own, and we want to spread the good word on everything veteran benefits and veteran life after the military. So we love doing it. It takes a lot of our time doing it. So a simple like and subscribe to the channel would help immensely. That is our mission. That is our goal. So it's in 71 days. So it's coming up. We got 71 days to hit that mark. The clock is ticking. So there's only so many likes I can get from my other channels.
Yeah. We don't ask much, just a little bit of your time and consideration. And, the what is it called? The social deposit of watching the videos and supporting the channel, what we do, and just giving us your ears and eyes for a little bit of time every day if you can. That's all we really ask for. If you want to throw a super like in there, I don't even know if we can do super likes, but if you can do a super like and you want to throw one of those in there or buy a coffee or whatever, that's fine too. It's all great. But the main thing is just to expand it, get it to the point where we can start getting some bigger names on the podcast and start reaching out to some more. Not that we're not reaching out to people right now as it is, but it's a lot easier once you cross a threshold of subscribers and viewers and all that kind of nonsense that nobody wants to hear about.
Definitely is. So that is our mission. That is our goal. And for the most part, we've had a lot of good support on this for this podcast. So keep it coming. We love the veteran community, and we do it for you. So, awesome.
And if you're out there and you haven't interfaced with us yet, and you are interested and you're getting ready to transition out, or you've already retired and you've been out for a few months, and you're interested in coming on and letting us know, tell us your story and tell us how your retirement or your transition went, just reach out to us. You've got our email addresses. For sure, if you watched the video that I just dropped the other day on Space A, you definitely have my email address and my phone number, so there's zero excuses. You can find me. You can contact me directly. But you can just hit us up on military retirement podcast at gmail.com. I think we need to change that at some point and just tie it to the thing. But that's another discussion we can have.
Yeah. And that's great too. So I would love to hear from somebody who's actually going through the process themselves and hear what the ups and downs are, what the stresses are, how they're actually feeling, and just let them know, like, hey, look, we understand. We've been there before. We know the stressors, and I'm here to tell you it's going to be all right. Because we have two experienced folks right here on the show. We have a bunch of folks in the military retirement group that can help out. But that'd be great if you are listening and you are actually in the retirement process, the whole transition process, maybe like 6 months out, maybe you're a year out, and you're trying to gather all your information. We invite you to come on the show. Reach out to us. We want to hear from you. Yeah, all over it, right above my head, all the links right above
somewhere.
My head here.
One of those links.
Yeah, the military retirement group right there. That's another thing. Yeah, military retirement group. If you haven't done so already, join that group on Facebook, the military retirement group. We're nearing 2,000 like-minded veterans who are currently doing the military to veteran transition, or have already transitioned and are retirees, or have just separated without even retiring. We welcome everybody. A lot of good information in the files tab, a lot of good timelines, Excel documents, things like that can help you out. A lot of things medical wise that can help you out that folks have uploaded. And we always announce a lot of good information on there. So everybody's welcome. And then when you go to sign into the actual group, it'll ask you a couple questions as any other Facebook group would. And the first one is, if you would like to be on our guest list to receive our military retirement ebook that's coming out, put in your email address. That goes straight to me. I'll put you on the list. I put on there that I'm not going to spam you. I'm not going to send you all this silly spam. I hate receiving that stuff myself, so I'm not going to send it all out to you. Maybe like once a month newsletter or something like that. I still haven't even generated that yet. So for right now, it's just for the ebook. And currently, I think we have about 400 folks that have gotten on our guest list for the ebook. So those folks are going to be getting first access to the bottom line up front, this new ebook, what you need to know before you leave the military, and kind of takes you through several short chapters about what to think about. It's not a complete guide by any means, but it's something that John and I have touched on and revised and edited to kind of hone everything encompassing the military transition, things that you just need to think about that folks maybe don't think about. So just keep that in mind. Sign up to the email list, and we'll send that out to you firsthand.
Yeah, a lot of work. Really proud of it, and happy to get it out very, very, very soon. It's back in my court now, so I have to do a couple more edits, and then I think we should be done at that point. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. That's all I needed.
I want to read it.
Yeah, I every time I go through it, I read the whole thing over. So I'm like, I can almost recite it by heart. But and that goes to show you how comprehensive it is. It's 10 chapters, and
10 short chapters.
I can read the whole thing in like an afternoon. And I have read it in an afternoon, right? I have some white space at work sometimes. Yeah. And no, really, I have some white space at work sometimes, and I'm like, I'll just read it all there. A lot of things I already know what I'm reading, so I'll skim through it. But it goes to show you how concise it is, how impactful it is in such short chapters. So it's good information.
Yep. Can't wait to get it out to the masses, to the public, and let everybody see it and touch it and skim through it. We'll be happy when that day comes.
Oh yeah.
And hopefully it helps somebody out there.
Yeah, no, I think it will. I think it will. I mean, well, maybe we'll put it up on Amazon or something like that too, just to let people download it in mass, right?
Yep.
From all areas. I'm still working on my own thing. I'm putting together a little book myself, but I'm still working on that. It's writing a book is tough. I'll tell you, writing a book is tough. I'm constantly going back and editing stuff and, changing my mind on things, scenarios. I got short stories on there too of things that I've encountered. So I'm like, man, it's tough, but it's one of my life goals, right? So if you got a life goal, make sure that thing is written up on your whiteboard like I have here, and you get that stuff done.
That's right.
Cool.
All right, man. I think that's all we got. For everybody out there, thank you for checking us out, hanging out, listening in, watching. We really, really appreciate you. And until next time, we'll see you next week.
It's been great.
At the latest next week.
Yep. All right. Out here.